Let's move on to the latest information about Putin's health problems. As the first year of the war between Russia and Ukraine is about to end, there has been an extraordinary development. U.S. President Joe Biden visited Ukraine and met with Zelensky. In this surprise meeting, Biden also visited many regions affected by the war. The fact that Biden was so comfortable in Kyiv was actually a big challenge. Russia could not carry out any operation against Gui. However, everyone panicked after Zelensky and Biden briefly traveled so close to Russia. The prospect of a Russian airstrike frightened millions. But there was one thing that Biden and Zelensky could count on. U.S. intelligence is closely monitoring Putin's health. According to reports in the Russian press, Biden's sudden visit was actually the result of a U.S. intelligence report. CIA officials reported that Putin's illness had relapsed and he was urgently taken to the hospital. Biden then decided to visit Ukraine because without Putin's decision, the Russian army could not launch a new attack. Putin's hospitalization led to the postponement of all critical decisions in Russia. This allowed Biden to make a safe trip to Ukraine. These claims were first shared on Russian Telegram channel. Dozens of previous claims by a secret user claiming to work in the Kremlin had been confirmed. Therefore, this claim was also followed by millions of people. However, the most interesting part of this claim was this POTS treatment did not yield the expected results. A new treatment is planned according to the results of the treatment program starts on March 5th. This can and probably will seriously affect the president's plans and decisions in the coming days. On March 5th, Putin is expected to undergo treatment and it'll be very difficult for him to resume his duties. However, no one yet knows what Putin will decide on this. It is estimated that Putin has not yet made his final decision. Putin has been forced to change his decisions in recent days because the Ukrainian army is showing a historic resistance and disrupting all Putin's attack plans. The Russian army has had to revise its target set several times. A few months ago, Putin set new targets. There are dozens of reports about this in the Putin-controlled media in Russia. Pro-Putin propaganda said that Russia would launch a new offensive as a result of this offensive. Kiev would be occupied on the anniversary of the war and the war would end. However, the Russian army suffered so much damage on the battlefield that Putin did not realize this plan either. The Russian army had to retreat in many areas. Putin is expected to hold a new meeting with his commanders to take a decision. It is thought that the latest information on the battlefield will be discussed at this meeting and Putin will make his final decision. However, Putin has been postponing this meeting for a while. The reason for this is quite interesting. In a special dossier we prepared as ANCA Daily News, we told our followers that Putin was afraid of being assassinated. We told our followers that breaking news that Putin traveled in an armored train and increased security measures. New allegations in the Russian press claim that the reason Putin postponed his meetings is the fear of assassination. Putin's spirit of death is increasing day by day as his health problems increase. Knowing that he is now 70 years old and sick, Putin is aware that his life is coming to an end. However, he still does not want to accept. He is doing everything he can to spend the rest of his life in good health. A former KGB agent made a statement about this situation. He said that even if Putin increases his bodyguards, it won't work because Putin will be poisoned. Moreover, he said that there is a high probability that this will be done by someone Putin is working with. The former agent's words were very interesting because he emphasized that there was a big power struggle in. It claimed that Putin would be poisoned to remove him from office. After these allegations, Putin started to prepare reports on all senior commanders. Putin postponed meeting. Due to this process, Putin is doing his best to overcome his health problems. However, it is now known that his illness is very advanced. On the other hand, Putin is getting old. According to the World Health Organization, the average life expectancy of men in Russia is 68. Putin is 70 years old and struggling with many diseases. In addition, Putin has a very stressful and tiring life. Having ruled Russia for 23 years, Putin has had to deal with many crises. These crises also affected Putin's health badly. It is also thought that many of Putin's health problems have been going on for many years. Putin, who has been interested in martial arts since his youth, suffered a lot of physical damage in those years. It is estimated that Putin's internal organs suffered a lot of wear and tear during those. It is clear that Putin's health problems will affect the course of the war. Doctors think that Putin should give up. Now, no one knows yet what Putin will do. What do you think Putin will do? Do you think Putin will resign because of his health problems? How do you think Putin's health problems are affecting the course of the war? Next, Russian prisoners were told that if they agreed to fight for 6 months, their criminal records will be erased, and David received £2,200. But the prisoners who joined the war faced a completely different situation because the Russian army used the prisoners' cannon fodder. Many of them died in the most violent areas of the war on the front lines. Moreover, the convicted soldiers were tricked into blaming. They were fighting the vast not the Ukraine. One captured prisoner said, "We were told that other countries, including Britain, were involved in the war in Ukraine and that we were defending Russia against foreign terrorists." Russian soldiers belonging to the Wagner Group released from prison with the promise of freedom and left to die on the front line do not know who they are fighting. There were many incidents that confirmed what the captured Russian soldiers said. Soldiers who surrendered to the Ukrainian army often made confessions. Soldiers who are forcibly held on the Russian front have expressed many truths with the videos they published. Anton Garko, advisor to the Minister of Internal Affairs of Ukraine, shared the pause the other day, revealing that Russian soldiers do not know who they are fighting and they do not know who their commanders are. The video shared by Chenko includes the statements of soldiers from the 504th Tank Regiment of the Russian Army. The soldiers in the video address Putin with their faces hidden. "We don't know who our commander is and which unit we belong to," the soldiers say in this video. Also proves that the soldier who was captured the other day and testified that we didn't know who we were fighting was telling the truth. One of the captured Russian soldiers said, "We were told that we would fight fascists and soldiers from other countries, not civilians." This statement clearly shows that the Russian army is targeting civilians. A Russian soldier who surrendered to the Ukrainian army in recent months openly admitted that the Russian army was targeting civilians. The surrendered soldier said, "Everywhere where there was a population, we were told that there were no civilians there, but civilians were there. When we surrendered after about 15 kilometers, we realized that the rockets that were flying were not going to ministry targets. They were going very diverse civilians, normal, ordinary, populated places." The confessions of two soldiers belonging to the Wagner Group are not limited to these. It is also among the confessions that the Russian army deceived and sent many of its citizens to their dads on the front. One of the captured soldiers said, "We were setting groups of 15 to areas where we were told there were only 10 Ukrainian soldiers, only to discover later that there were about 40 Ukrainian." This testimony of the captured soldiers confirms in another way that the Russian occupiers have no more soldiers to center the operation. Putin could not solve the soldier problem with mobilization announcements because Russian youth do not want to fight for Putin's own political career and reputation. Therefore, putting south a solution with Wagner. About a month ago, the Wagner Group sent prison inmates to the front. In a few weeks, about 1,000 prisoners were killed. This shows that prisoners were used as cannon fodder. The testimonies of the captured Russian soldiers revealed once again the success of the Ukrainian army. One of the soldiers who described everything clearly said, "A sniper killed 10 of my fellow soldiers. In the end, I was alone trapped by Ukrainian forces. The Wagner Group sent another platoon of 10 soldiers and the sniper killed 5 of them." The Ukrainian army is making history against the Russian invaders. In recent months, Russian soldiers captured by the Ukrainian army have also confessed to being deceived. There have been many statements about this. Lon Rush soldier confessed. They said there were exercises, and that's why they deceived us. We don't want to fight. Moreover, the family of this soldier said that they had no idea that their children were at war. Another Russian soldier said that they realized they were at war only after they arrived in the occupied territory. "When we arrived, we understood the situation. We realized that we had come to fight, not on a peace mission." Everyone started asking the commanders, "What are we doing here?" Russian youth are perceived and dying one by one. Soldiers in the Russian army who do not support the Ukrainian occupation are being killed one by one, besides right in front of the eyes of the soldiers who have just joined the front line. Andrei Me, a former commander of the Wagner Group who left the front line because of what he saw, said that soldiers who did not want to serve in the occupied territories were being killed. A Russian soldier who surrendered to the Ukrainian army. "There were people lined up in the rear killing the fugitives. There was a team killing those who really wanted to run home. I realized I was in trouble where I was stationed." The inhuman practices of the Wagner Group and the Russian army led to the deaths of thousands of young anti-occupy. Let us conclude all these confessions with the following words of the soldier captured by the Ukrainian. "I have only one thing to say to the generals of our military units, that they acted coldly and treacherously against us. I tell all regiments of the Russian army to lay down their arms." The exhaustion of the Russian army is revealed by the confessions of captured and surrendered soldiers. The Russian army, which lost about 150,000 soldiers in the first year of the war, is using inhuman practices to solve the shortage of military personnel. It seems very difficult for Russian leader Vladimir Putin to continue the occupation. The Ukrainian army against the Russian army is getting stronger every day. The support of VA and European countries and the magnificent resistance of the Ukrainian people is an example to the whole world. There are Ukrainian soldiers proudly defending their land against Russian soldiers who do not want to fight against Putin, who is dragging his people to their dads for his own ambitions and reputation. There is Zelensky, who is one with his people. Even these two comparisons show that in the coming days of the war, the Ukrainian army will completely drive the Russian invaders out of there. What are your thoughts? What will happen in the coming days of the war? Will the confessions of soldiers belonging to the Wagner Group and the Russian army affect the course of the war?